What's up everybody, and welcome to the top 4 status mods. In today's video we're going to be checking out the status section of the Nvidia voting contest. If you know what this contest is all about, people had the opportunity to submit mods to Nvidia for a cash prize and custom PC. Nvidia then chose what they viewed as the best in each of the categories, so typically we got 5. Unfortunately, in the status category, one of these was removed, but there's a big controversy surrounding this. A lot of people felt these are the wrong mods. I'm not going to be getting into that. I'm just going to be evaluating and taking a closer look at all these mods. So the way this video is going to work is I'm going to order the mods in my opinion from worst to best. So the last mod you'll see is going to be what in my opinion is the best. I'll be evaluating these mods on my own criteria, meaning that even though I encourage you guys to come to your own conclusions, I'm going to be kind of giving you a framework as to how I came to my own. So this criteria is going to be usability, which basically is just how practical the mod is in a regular playthrough. So obviously a lot of people look at mods in a enclosed environment like, oh, I'm gonna go play around with it for 10 to 15 minutes. Usability is gonna be all about I'm playing the game regularly, I'm doing my full playthrough, how practical is this mod? Next up we do have enjoyment. So basically we are playing this video game for fun. How does the mod help to make that a more fun experience or add to that in any way? And then finally the bugginess criteria, which is basically just if there's anything broken or not really working with the mod, I'm obviously not going to want to play it that much, so that. But that's pretty much it. Today we're going to be going over the status mods as I did say before. The next 3 days will be the other categories. As always, there'll be a link in the description down below to where you can vote. But with that, let's get right into it. So the first mod we do have on the list is Pew laser weapon. So basically what this is going to do is change the sound of laser weapons in the game to, well, this. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the entire mod right there. It does work on automatic and semi-automatic laser weapons, so. And as simple as this mod is, there is a bit of complexity to there. There are definitely different pews based on how fast you're shooting. So if you start shooting a little faster, it is definitely like a higher pitched and a slightly different pew. Although despite claiming to be all laser weapons, it doesn't work on the laser musket, which I found to be a little bit disappointing. And even despite everything else, it doesn't work perfectly in my opinion. So if you actually, kind of shoot the pew, if you listen to the background sound there, you can hear like the, I don't know, kind of like the echoing of the normal gun sound. So I don't know, that could be something I think could be worked on or changed a little bit. You could especially tell with the Gatling laser. It might be kind of hard to tell through the video, but basically like the ambient noise from firing a weapon is still there. Obviously the true way to test this is with a bunch of pews, so now we have a bunch of Siths and a bunch of Brotherhood Knights, and as you can see, they are going to have quite the pew battle, although it appears only the Synths are really making pews. If you listen there, you could actually hear the regular Brotherhood sound, so I don't know what goes on with those. I guess the automatic laser rifles aren't there either. And another little glitch I found is if you actually zoom in, the pews stop. So if you go into VATS here, yeah, you can't hear any more pews. So, I mean, even as simple as a mod, there are quite a few bugs here nonetheless. It doesn't work flawlessly. So now time for the evaluation as we watch these guys fight and listen to the pews in the background. So first and foremost, usability. So this is the criteria for kind of in a normal let's play or playthrough, how practical is this? Well, I mean, that's really your own opinion, I guess. In my personal opinion, this would get kind of obnoxious very quickly, but that's only because I typically use laser weapons. If you only use laser weapons every so often, and, it's not like you're ever going to see this many Brotherhood or Synths in the wild, you'll probably only encounter 3, 4 at a time tops. So in that sense, you're probably not going to be overwhelmed by the pews. Otherwise, it's kind of weird to take this mod seriously and try and give a actual review of it. But yeah, so I mean, again, that's kind of your own opinion. I personally don't find it that practical, but again, that's because I use laser weapons a lot, and listening to pews all the time would get kind of old and take me out of like the immersion almost, I guess. I don't know. As far as enjoyment, it definitely is really enjoyable. It is really funny hearing all the pews. I did get quite a kick out of it as soon as I installed the mod. This is the first time I ever played with this, although I've heard of it before. And especially just like little fights like this, listening to all the pews go back and forth is quite entertaining, even though it doesn't work on all weapons. But still, it is pretty entertaining, so definitely going to give, I would give it high regards in the enjoyment factor. This just seems like a fun mod that was made well. And, well, actually, I guess not made well. That's the final one, is the bugginess. There are definitely quite a few bugs on here, and especially with it being such a simple mod, you would think bugs like this would be solved a little bit sooner, especially the ambient effect of having the regular gun sound in the background. So stuff like that, I feel like in this mod particularly, you wouldn't expect it to have issues like that, and more importantly, it shouldn't have issues like that. So that's kind of why I got the last spot on this list. Although it's kind of a novelty mod, it still has a lot of issues that have to be worked out, and I feel like they should have been worked out already. So that's pretty much that. On to the next. So up next, we do have survival saving. Basically, what this is going to add in is these recordable holotapes to the game. By default, they'll spawn on enemies, so you'll find in the wild. So they're very rare and low chance, but they're basically integrated into the level list. So you'll find them across the world, not a specific enemy, just enemies in general. They have a low chance of spawning on. Once you get one of these, basically what it's going to allow you to do, if I put it in my Pip-Boy, gives you this holotape that you can start recording, and what this is going to do is create a save. So if we hit start recording right now, please exit the application, then you have to exit your Pip-Boy. And as you can see in the top left corner, we do have a saving mechanism, and that's basically it. Obviously in survival, you can't just save all the time, so you have that limitation placed on you, and this is giving you a vanilla, well, not a vanilla way, but a more natural way to use force saves when necessary. So when you feel like, hey, I want to have a save right here, but you know, you don't want to cheat or use a mod that just allows saving outright. It's a really nice fix for a problem that some of us have. So if you load the holotape again, oh yeah, and I'm sorry, when you use the holotape, it gives you a used holotape, which is just a blank holotape. It has like a little thing, there's no more stored data or no available storage space. So if we load back in the recordable holotape, as you saw, there was also a configuration menu. So right here, we do have all the different settings you can change, and this definitely feels like, or it definitely feels like this mod was made by someone that, you know, plays the game and kind of put some thought into it. So Pip-Boy consumes holotape. You can enable or disable whether or not these are reusable. So if right now, if this is on, when I load in a holotape, that's it, it's done, one and done. If I turn this off when I load in a holotape, I could continue to reuse it. You also have the option for terminals consume holotapes, so I think this one's really interesting. So this one's basically saying when you're at a base, or I guess you could, there's terminals scattered across the like the world, but really you're gonna only find them in safer places. So basically, when you're in a safer place, it won't use a holotape. Well, I actually really like this feature because I think in my own playthrough, I would turn that off. So I would be able to reuse those when I go back into the wild, because typically, again, terminals are in safer places. So I really like the addition of this feature. I think that's a big feature right there. Holotapes affect adrenaline. So if you don't know, in survival there is an adrenaline. It basically increases your damage the more kills you get. So this, if it's right now it's off, so it won't affect it, but while it's on, it'll make your adrenaline decrease as you use various holotapes. So that is another nice feature to have. It's giving you a alternative kind of I guess it hurts you in another way for your save, because that is obviously hugely helpful, having saves when you need them. And then finally we have consumption produces used holotapes. So I could turn this off if I don't want those pesky used holotapes in your inventory. I mean, I would probably do that. It's kind of cool at first, but after a while you're just going to have a bunch of them stacking up. Well, maybe not if you don't find many of these, but nonetheless. And then finally we have the current save type. So as it's on regular save, it'll create a full proper save. So as you can see, these are 2 right here. But if you put it on the quick save setting, or on the auto save setting, it'll just create a quick save or an auto save really quick. So that's pretty much everything about the mod. It's another pretty simple mod. So how would I rate the mod? That is the real question. So as far as usability goes, this is actually where it's going to lose a lot of points, which people, not that I'm giving them points, but I think people might not necessarily agree with me with this, but basically not everyone plays survival. That's the only thing with this mod that, you know, I think the mod's really good, but the usability factor of how you're going to use it in a regular playthrough, yeah, it totally is awesome for anyone playing survival. That's about half of the Fallout community, I would guess. I imagine half the people play survival and take the game very seriously, and the other half are just playing for fun, especially those modding. There's a lot of crazy and outlandish mods out there, so a lot of people are probably just going to throw them on and mess around with them, and then maybe some people will just do vanilla survival let's plays, whatever. But for a top 4 status mods that are kind of supposed to be like overarching the best of the best mods, this is kind of a weird one to have on that list. It's a very niche, not super niche, but you know what I mean? Not everyone plays survival, and this is only available to those who play survival. So for that sense, I don't know. I think the mod works really well for those playing survival, but everyone else, it's a little bit questionable. I also don't like this. I don't like how the configuration menu is right as soon as you get the holotape. I think this should be put on a separate holotape, because if you're in the if you're playing survival and you kind of, you know, maybe you're having a hard time and getting frustrated, I'm going to be a lot more inclined to change some of these settings, or maybe just, oh, you know what, I'm going to use this holotape, but I haven't been finding them that often, so now I'm going to turn it off, that the Pip-Boy consumes the holotape. I'm just going to feel a lot more inclined to do that if I have that menu sitting there every time. I would really love this to be on a different menu somewhere else, like so I could store it in my base and forget about it. I just don't really like having the configuration menu there. I'm really happy it exists. I would just rather it be moved somewhere else. So that's pretty much the usability. As far as enjoyment goes, obviously this is going to make you enjoy your game a little bit more, because it's going to take away the difficulty factor. Unless you're really into the difficulty factor, then it will be a little bit different for you. But again, I feel like this is one of those mods that if you want to use it, you could use it. It's not the most fun mod in the world, but it's practical, which I definitely give it points for. And finally, bugginess. There's no bugs on this. I haven't found any bugs using this. It's a very simple mod. All it does is create a save. And as far as spawning on enemies, I did spawn in a bunch of enemies before, mow a bunch of them down, and eventually I did get one of these holotapes, so it definitely spawned successfully. That's pretty much it for this mod. It is the third spot, and yeah, so let's go on to the next. So in the number 2 spot, we do have a Cannibal in Concord mod. And basically what this is going to add in is this house right here. So this also does come up on your map. Once you discover it, you have the Cannibal house right here. And then once you go inside, you have this entire house that is the home of a cannibal. This is actually a real world cannibal. It's based off of that. And yeah, I mean, that's more or less the mod. This house is really freaking cool. There's a lot of content in here, a lot of stuff to look around and discover. There's actually a lot of rooms that have like keys that are required to get into them. So for example, up here we do have these rooms, and you require a key to get through these, etc. So you're going to spend a lot of time reading through the notes. There are a lot of notes throughout the house. As you can see, we have my only friend right there, and these are kind of hints to what's going on. You also do have bodies everywhere, with some like just these bodies are kind of negligible. They just have like the normal raider stuff, so all the raider gear on them and other things like that, if I could actually get through. But yeah, so again, it is a content heavy house, but it's only a house, and it's one of those mods that you're gonna want to play through. I didn't beat it. I made it to the basement, so and then I understand what the next step is, and I'm going to beat it. I just figured I played it enough that I can make my video on it. But it is really cool. As you can see, it's very done up. Your companions actually won't follow you inside, so definitely big points to the mod author for that. It's intentional because it's so cramped in here. And as you can see, you have some nice stuff on the wall. If you actually explore the house, you'll see it's very well made. As you can see, a lot of time and effort went into this, and for that reason, I really like it. It is a lot of fun as far as like exploring it and all that goes, and I'm sure you guys can kind of tell I'm hesitant with all this. It was really hard to decide between the last 3 spots. Like, all of them are good for different reasons. I don't really understand why this mod's in the status category. Well, it has nothing to do, it's a cool house to explore. It should be in the map category if you ask me, because it's a very cool location with a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of stuff going on. It is quite, there's no quest or anything like that, but there is a lot of backstory here that I'm trying not to spoil. I don't want to say anything because it's fun to explore and discover things as you go through the house. Like, I spent a good half hour here reading notes, looking for keys, etc., and I only made it to the basement, and I believe there's a few more steps to go. My only real complaints about this, as far as, you know, where the mod goes, comes into the usability. So look at that transition. But basically, what I have issues with in this mod is the long-term effects of it. It is a house that you explore and you could read and have a good experience, and that's it. There is nothing after that. It would be cool if maybe this could turn into a player home, I guess, or something like that. Or maybe if there was some kind of weapon at the end. That's what would really sell this mod for me and instantly shoot it to the first spot. If there was something towards the end that gave you kind of something beyond the house. So you'll have this as a memento or something to keep with you that makes you be like, all right, I beat that quest mod house thing, and now I have this to carry around with me. That's what would complete this mod for me. Right now, once you finish the house, and even though I haven't finished it, I do know the conclusion and all that, but once you finish the house, you're done. You leave the house, and you can basically uninstall the mod because it is not really of any use to you after that. It's a really cool experience while you're doing it, but I need that little extra bit. So as far as usability, that is where it goes. That is kind of where why it's not number one, why it's number two. As far as the enjoyment of it, it is a ton of fun if you're into that kind of thing. You have to be patient and look through, and you're going to get probably frustrated because the keys are not easy to find. Again, it took me a half hour to find, I think, 4 or 5 keys. I had a lot of fun doing it. You get to explore the house, see all the crazy stuff going on, and all that. Unfortunately, I don't know if I don't want to take points off for this, but stuff like this is, I don't love. Like, this is totally, you can't interact with that at all. By comparison, there was a guy here, well, he got a little glitched out, but he was pinned to the wall through machetes, and that was really cool because you could pick up the machetes now, you know, and all that. Well, on the flip side, having this guy pinned to the wall with an axe, although this looks really cool, I can't interact with this at all, which is a bit unfortunate. I don't really like that. And is it foggy out, I guess? Yeah. So, but yeah, that's just one of my little gripes with it. Otherwise, it is fine. There's no bugs here. You can totally beat it. I did ensure that you could totally beat this, and there's a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to show too much because, like, all up here, you don't get access to this area right away. You have to find the key to unlock this door, which I managed to do, and the key locations I do really freaking like. There are a few in there which were like, oh, that's cool, and there's notes hinting to where the key locations are. So it's a cool mod, but again, I just have problems with the contingency of it. So that is that. Now let's get to the last one. So last but not least, we have the Everybody's Best Friend mod. And I know a lot of people might not necessarily agree with me on this decision, but again, I encourage you to come to your own conclusions. But yes, so what this mod allows you to do is have dog meat and another companion at the same time. So I could only have, like, if I wanted Ada with me instead of this random automatron, I would have to ditch this automatron. But you could have dog meat with you at all times. And this is kind of just, you know, going with the man's best friend ideology. And yes, he's glitched out. He's floating. Don't ask. But yeah, I mean, it is a very simple and functional mod. That's the entire mod, by the way. So there's no real features for me to show you other than I'm not at a settlement and I have 2 companions. So that's cool. And I can command both of them. Obviously, everything works absolutely fine. So as far as the criteria for how I'm rating my mods, this one, the usability, obviously, this is kind of where it gets the most points out of all the other mods. This mod you can use at any playthrough at all times as long as you want to, and I frankly don't think it's overpowered. I think it's pretty practical. So obviously, if you're playing survival, if you're playing not survival, if you're just messing around with some mods, all of those types of scenarios, you can definitely use having these 2 companions at the same time, and I think a lot of people would enjoy having dog meat and one other companion. They'll feel it's not super overpowered, but it is, you know, still kind of strong but balanced. I don't know. I think it's just a good middle ground for all the companion mods out there. I don't want to have any 2 companions, but dog meat in particular, along with another companion, I think works well. As far as enjoyment, I mean, again, if you enjoy having 2 companions, then you'll enjoy this one. It's a lot of this enjoyment stuff is just opinions. In my opinion, yes, I really like having 2 companions. It almost makes me feel a little bit safer. When it was just me and dog meat, it was nice, but when it was me, dog meat, and someone else, I just had a lot of fun, and when we walked up onto strange and scary places, I felt a little bit safer. Not like dog meat was going to sprint in, insta-die, and then I was just stuck alone battling everyone. Now I have another person with me, this time in the form of Automatron 510, that can help me and take on my enemies. So finally, as far as bugginess goes, well, there's no bugs. It's working. I'm getting shot at, and that's the Pew mod. So we're going to try and get these guys to attack, and but yeah, so that's pretty much the entirety of the mod. Obviously there's no bugs, things work. That was actually a great conclusion with that Pew mod. But yeah, so as you can see, there goes dog meat running in, and we do have Automatron 510 backing him up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh god, he has a bomb. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is going to be it for the series, guys, at least for this episode of the series. I do hope you enjoyed it thus far. Tomorrow we should have, I believe it's weapon mods I'll be doing tomorrow, so that'll be much more interesting. I think the status mods, I think, were kind of the most, for lack of a better term, fucked up category. There was just, I don't know, whoever made this category had no idea what they were doing. I think going forward they are a lot better though, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, so make sure to vote if you enjoyed this video, well, or just vote anyway. Obviously I'll have a link to the Nvidia contest website down below. As always, I thank you guys for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Later.